Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I will talk about the latest episode of Van Helsing. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Let's start with the Violet and Ivory scene. I thought it was kind of interesting. She's kind of doing a battle crawl, and Violet being like, "Why are you doing that?" And for her, it was kind of like her way to call out to her sisters. Because I forgot, I was like, right, that is kind of their thing. Because you're so used to them doing it kind of in unison. Because especially, because her and Scab would do that a lot, him in particular. So, but it's like, it's almost like echolocation to a certain extent. But it's like, for her, it's a battle cry that they'd call out to unite. But it's like, yeah, all of her sisters are going. But on some level, there's a part of her just kind of hoping that if she screams out, that it would, that somewhere out there that maybe they'd come back or something, But for her, it also is like, right, they kind of ran things around here. Like, the sister who was feared, so it's like, the smart ones would know to stay away. The dumb ones would come and get slaughtered type of situation. So, obviously, like, her telling Violet, like, you are like a sister to me. So, like, what's your battle cry? She's like, oh, no, I can't do it. It's like, no, you're a sister. You're just as much a part of the sisterhood because, like you said, you fought alongside of us, you spilt blood alongside of us. That makes you part of the sisterhood. And in that moment, they're both kind of screaming out, And for Violet, it was, for Jack, So it was time to, it's like, all right, let's get out there, let's keep going. So obviously, Violet and them ended up finding like the location, but it's referencing some bells that basically were hidden along. I even love Ivory being like, oh yeah, like, I remember that during like the Revolutionary War and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, we spent a lot of time feasting on the dead. Violet didn't have much to say on that. She was almost like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, the benefit of being around for so long because you just kind of forget how old, like until like that episode, 2 or 3 episodes back, it kind of reminds you, right, just how old Violet actually is. Because when you actually think of it, because in comparison to like Julius, because Julius is like vampire years wise, at like not including his own age, he's like 100 plus something because he was he got turned like what the 1920s or 1930s, something like that. So he's relatively new compared to like a lot of other vampires, especially Ivory. But nevertheless, tangents and all that aside, the fact is that like Violet's suggesting like they have to go to a church. That's where Jack is leading them. But it's like obviously Ivory's like, yeah, kind of got some demons associated. Like considering how she died before like she got turned and everything, before Michaela found her and turned her, is kind of like, yikes, probably not too keen on going to church. I'd understand your reasoning why. Another element to kind of tie this all together too is we have Bathory being like, yeah, I killed your leader, now I'm speaking to you. Go find the Van Helsing, kill her, and bring back the amulet, because it's like, how do we know the Dark One won't just kill us anyway? It's like, you're definitely going to find death if you don't do what you're told, that this is the only way to victory or whatever. So they kind of get sent on their way, tracking down Violet. Violet and Ivory make their way to the church. And lo and behold, who they run into? Axel and Juliet. You're like, yeah, reunited, and it feels so good. You're like, hell yeah, dude. I wish I hadn't done that. Yeah, I was like, I could cut that out. Yeah, fuck it, it's gonna stay. Nevertheless, I was like, yeah, I always love everybody getting reunited. So it's like, okay, and obviously, it's like, okay, so why are you guys here? It's like, yeah, Jack was it's because Jack Legend. I thought she was in the realm of darkness, the dark realm. It's like, yeah, she was. She time traveled. And it's like, yeah, I know it's hard to believe, but like Axel's like, honestly, we kind of deal with the crazy on a regular basis, so this is kind of nothing new. So they go down below, and obviously someone rolls up on him. I was wondering, I was like, is it Jack? Like, cause once again, it seems like they age. It doesn't seem like the Van Helsings, despite their experimented situation, that they don't like have like full, like they can heal, but it doesn't seem like they have like ageless immortality like vampires do. I mean, at least it hasn't come up yet. So, because it seems like there's special circumstances related to it. We'll get to that in a second. But the moment the dude, like we end up finding out later on it's the pastor. But I was like, is that Jack? Has she been like scouring the lands, keeping this place safe until like Violet finds her? But no. Obviously, he's like, they're like, no. We're also, I love. I'm all over the place. I'm sorry. I love that whole thing of like, all right, this person's name is like, who is that? Oh, it's Jack's favorite anime character. Julius leans over to Axel's like, what's anime? And Axel's like, I don't know. It's like, right, two old men who don't know anything. I love it. I mean, to be fair, like, obviously, like, the youngest group would be Jack and Violet. They are the youngsters of the group and everything. But, yeah, then the pastor shows up, and obviously he's reluctant to believe them, but he's a man of faith, where it's kind of like, oh, like, he's been tasked from generation to generation to do this, and he sees the amulet, and that was enough to convince him, like, okay. And obviously Axel can resonate with that, like, you know, you spend your entire life you spend a good chunk of your time on a mission that you didn't have any way of confirming or really believing in, and he just kind of acted on faith and belief, and Axel's like, oh, I get that. It's like, right, that's why he was there. He stuck around with Vanessa for 3 years. He could have abandoned the mission. He didn't. He stuck around, just believing that there was a reasoning for it, you know? So they open it up, they find some scrolls and everything. It's like, oh, cool. It didn't correlate in my head until they bring it up later on. Right, those are most likely the scrolls Bathory had that she was using back in the day when she was fighting along Jack, aside Jack to kill the Dark One. But then I was like, are they going to find Jack's body in there? That's what I was wondering. I was like, is she going to look exactly the same? And ultimately she does. I was like, now that's neat. And it's like, okay. And Axel's like, I've seen this before. I was like, yeah. I think it's so funny. Axel went to a completely different circumstance that I didn't think about. It's like, of course he would reference that. I immediately was like, oh yeah, Lily was in that state. But then he reminded us, it's like, yeah, Vanessa. I was like, right. I was like, I'm so stupid. That's where we started at the beginning of this series. Hence, once again, why he referred to her as Sleeping Beauty. She was she was in a coma for the past 3 years, but it's like she didn't move a muscle. Of course, that'd be the reference he'd make, because he wasn't around when Lily woke up, so he didn't know about that. But I think he was with them when they discovered Lily's body looking exactly the same. Him and Vanessa probably never got that into the conversation of like, yeah, my ancestor Lily, like, she woke up and she helped me for a bit. So that was kind of interesting. They didn't really explain how that is, and later on they're like, I don't know, just like she felt like Jack was like, I was like, was it like a magic thing? Like, how'd you do it? And she's like, explains it later on to being like, I guess it's kind of like a natural instinct that the Van Helsing have, like, is a bit of self-preservation. So in Vanessa's case, like, to kind of preserve her, like, she went in a catatonic state until flesh bit her, and I guess it's like what's already inside her DNA plus being a Van Helsing was like awakened. Because isn't that how Lily woke up in the first? No, I think like vampire blood landed on her like during or Vanessa's did, like when she was fighting Sam, and I think that's what woke her up. So it's like, I think it kind of triggers the Van Helsing in them to be like, come out of hibernation type of thing. So at first I was like, oh, they're going to have to get a vampire to bite her to wake her up, because as Axel was like, yeah, like Vanessa woke up when flesh bit her. Calling him flesh? Come on, bro. After all you've been through, it's Phil. You know he wouldn't appreciate that. But then ultimately, because she had the Dark One in her at one point in time, maybe it's like it still resonates on some level. It's like maybe that's enough to wake Jack up, so she bites Jack, and luckily it does work. I didn't think it would, but it does. And it's like, yeah, everyone's it's it's like, it took you long enough and everything. So obviously they know that Vanessa's in there, the realm, and she's just trying to like get control of everything. So it's like, right, bringing up the fact is, her ultimate plan is, we're going to find Bathory, we're going to change her back, and she's going to use this scroll to help us kill the Dark One. That would potentially explain what we saw with Bathory. It could be a situation where they do turn her back, and when they do turn her back, I mean, because we haven't like done it to such old school people before. Well, I mean, Julius is like Ivory was super old, but I'm like, yeah, like Michaela and Bathory are kind of very distinct exceptions to that, so I'm like, but I think it'll still work. Maybe that vision she saw was like, maybe it's a literal thing, or maybe it's supposed to be kind of like like this is your death, but it was supposed to be in round quotes, because it's like, it's your death as a vampire. Not unless she pretends to still be a vampire, like she puts everything on to pretend like she's still her vampire self, and then gets close to the Dark One, and the Dark One ends up being the one that kills her. Not unless that ends up being the case, which totally could be. But yeah, kind of hedging their bets on that. So, all right. You had the father being like, the pastor being like, I'm going to go with you guys. And yeah, everyone's getting locked and loaded. It's like, we got only a limited amount of this ammunition, so I'll make everything count. All the weapons are loaded with it, especially when like the siege happens. So it's like, all right, lay everybody down, make your shots count. And they were able to fend them off, but they ran out of ammo, and you're like, yeah, it kind of sucks, because in that moment you kind of blew through all the ammo. I don't think there's any of it left. So the pastor was kind of telling them to go downstairs, but you could tell Julius is kind of like short of breath, and you're like, oh, even though he took that little drop, it was enough to like send his heart in overdrive. Like, even that drop was enough. And I guess it was just kind of like, it's like, damn, he's already feeling the side effects after just like one drop that he took last episode. But obviously the cloud ended up swooping in to their benefit and detriment. Ended up killing most of the vampires except for one. It mutated the leader. So I'm wondering, like, I guess it's like a 90% chance. Everything else, like 9 out of 10 vampires are going to die. The one's going to be the mutation. He just, well, it seems like it's even less than that. It's probably more like 9.5 because like it seems like literally the rest of his crew died. He was the only one that survived. So that's where it's kind of like, what makes it so that you can survive? Like, is it strength of will type of thing, or is it just luck of the draw? I don't know. But he comes through mutated. Obviously, the pastor opens up a doorway and is like, if they go through this, there's no coming back. Like, the door's kind of shut. Julius is kind of telling him to go on, but Violet gets stuck on the other side with him. Poor pastor dies. Am I surprised? No. Like, it just kind of like, no one extra ever really gets to survive. It's like, yeah, you're just going to end up being collateral damage. Just like, yeah. It's just like, I didn't expect it. It's kind of sad considering, like, yeah, this was your mission and everything, but now they got Jab back. It's kind of like, well, we don't need you. Poor bastard. But I guess maybe in some way, shape, or form, in his mind, it was probably like, nah, it's all worth it because what I've dedicated so much of my life in, this is all come true, and now Jack's here. Like, they're going to end this darkness, so it was all worth it in the end. But Violet gets stuck on the other side with Julius. It's very, coming full circle considering, like, Hanson, Willem ended up bringing, Julius to her. So like all that they've been through since the beginning. So it's only neat. They always find, their way kind of getting stuck together, like the arena and everything. But obviously Jack's back now, and it's like, for Violet, it's like, I found my way to you before I'll find my way to you again. So here, you take the amulet and go. So Julius and her are left behind, and so Julius opens up the vial and he says, "It's me, spinach." And I was like, hey, Popeye reference. You were probably around when the OG Popeye came out anyway, so that's probably why you were able to say that. So he gets hyped up on it, and him and Violet go and challenge the dude. And I love her kind of holding him back like a wild dog and being like, sick him. And they go toe-to-toe. I think that's kind of supposed to be foreshadowed too, because like the pastor looked at, he's like, oh, you used to be a vampire? He's like, yeah. It's like, oh, glad to see I'm meeting the friendly giant. And obviously we get Julius like this in a state, but the moment he took down that bottle, I was like, yeah, this is his trump card, this is his gambit, because he already knew like his heart was already in a bad enough condition that he wouldn't be any use to them going forward. So if it meant helping Violet with this mutant, it was fine. They're going toe to toe. But obviously, even partway through the fight, you could tell Julius was getting worn down. Like, his heart was kind of giving out. But it's like, that's your boy giving it as much as he gets. And just like, landing in those blows, being the boxer that he is. But gets stabbed. And the guy's like, oh, like, I could just let you die. But what fun would that be? And Julius punched through the chest and has his heart and drops it. It's like, dude. And honestly comes the most gut. It's like, oh. I had tears welling up. I was like, no, come on. No, it doesn't have to be this way. But for Julie, it's like, yeah, this is my way out, And obviously, Violet crying, be like, no. He's like, I did good, right? She's like, you did great. You did super. He's like, yeah, I did good. For him, it's like, it was all worth it. As long as he was able to save her and help her. The fact is, it's like, you, Jack, and Vanessa, you gave me purpose. They gave him back his life. They gave him his humanity. And, like, gave him something to fight for. And for him, it's like, you go and bite that bitch, you end the dark one, and him dying in her arms like that, it sucks, because it's like, this is an OG with this, especially because, like, well, at the very least you believe, like, Phil got his happy ending and Doc got hers to a certain extent. At least you hope so, with the way they had their send outs. And then also like him and everything with him and Nina last episode too, for this to be his last episode. You're kind of hoping like, now maybe some miracle is going to happen, it's going to be fine. But it's like, no, it looks like Julius is gone. And obviously Violet screaming out. It's like, this is the most, like, she's never, like, next to their dad, this is the first time recently she's lost someone so close to her. Like, this is her buddy. And when she screamed out, Jack could immediately feel it, because she was reluctant to leave. But it's like, if Vanessa was here, would she leave us behind? Yeah. If it meant finishing the mission, yeah. Axel knows. They've been on that side of things before, so they have to keep going. And obviously, when it's all said and done, like, Axel just keeps pushing forward. And obviously, Ivory's like, I don't follow you, I follow Jack. But for him, it's like a thing of like, he's worried and just like he needs to keep going after everything because he's worried about Violet and Julius, I think, too. But it's just like, we got to keep pushing forward. This mission's too important. This is it. This is all we've got. But then like Violet screams out, and then, you know, Ivory screams out in return, and she's able to track them down. It's like, where's Julius? Sacrifices for me. And then like you see Axel just kind of like, damn, like, because he's lost people time and time again throughout all this. He lost Scarlet, they lost Muhammad, now they've lost Julius. I mean, hell, at one point it's like we lost Vanessa too, like, you know, especially after they were on better terms. Now it's just like, just keep losing people, and it's just like, damn. And it's like, you know, he's like, he was a good friend, you know, and it's like, damn. I was like, no, Julius. It's just crazy, dude, because let's not forget, Julius has been here since literally the first episode, because he was the first vampire we actually got to, like, meet and get introduced to, and then obviously we saw him bite flesh, so a lot got set in motion. But, like, he's been an OG as a bad guy, obviously, in Season 2, being a bad guy, then becoming a good guy. It's just, man, I didn't expect it to kind of end this way, you know, and it's so sad that it did. Like, I wanted my boy Julius to have his happy ever after, like, everyone survived this and we make it out and just everyone gets to live their life, but, you know, the casualties of war and everything, right? Once again, I feel so bad because, like, the pastor, yeah, I knew he was going to die. Didn't expect Julius to die. That kind of shocked me. But, yeah, he went because he knew he'd slowed him down and it only be a matter of time until his heart gave out. So why not give it all one last push to protect Violet, you know? You know, it's like, you know, having been her teacher during the training and everything, it's interesting and neat for him to come full circle, sacrificing his life, much like their dad did for Violet and Jack, you know, so. But obviously it's like, we're going to finish the Dark One, make her pay for not just Julius, but everyone that's died because of her. And so they march forward, and, you know, Jack and Axel fist bump, and obviously Ivory kind of like screaming out, and Axel's just kind of going with the flow with it. And I love the whole, like, kiss and peace sign up, like, we miss you, buddy, R.I.P. And it's just like, oh, dude. Like I said, I was tearing up that entire show. I was like, I'm not afraid to admit when I tear up because of the TV show. It's like I said, it's just like he's been here the whole ride, and I wasn't expecting that, you know? So, once again, also a thing we have to keep in mind, maybe not everyone we know, like, Ivory might not make it through this, which would suck, considering she just got reunited with Jazz. She's with her sister, Violet. But there's also an angle of, like, maybe Axel won't make it through. I mean, you actually think about it right now, too. This is the only core group left, like, in this fight. Everyone else is gone. Doc is gone. Phil is gone. Maybe some other humans they meet along the way will join the fight. But this is like this core group of 4 right now is all that's left. Plus, they don't have any ammunition. Plus, they also have to worry about the Dark One's sending her own forces, because obviously Bathory's sending out people to look for them. But also, it's like they got to worry about Orange Cloud. A lot of stuff going on. They have to be on the lookout for. So, I'm very, very interested to ultimately see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. Maybe we'll get some insight into some of the other stuff Jack was up to. They might not feel that it's important enough to really go into, but, you know, we'll see whether that's something they end up tackling or not. But, yeah, till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and good